Somehow the
because
camera's not
Zoom
connected.
or because OBS isn't started.
They have that one.
How's school?
Yeah.
Wiped on Friday?
No, I felt like they got tipped over to the other side, like so tired that they're crazy. Like that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, you're exhausted, but it's manifesting as a thing. Things are good. Yeah. Sadie is like, Thomas is here, but then Sadie is, they're struggling a little bit because of her. She would like to like pay attention and find.
Oh,
So sometimes they have the teacher, they never redo things until they do it correctly. Sadie struggles and like, why am I? Sadie is
Oh.
Yeah.
Probably. It's like the 2-story one. Yeah, that's like three from yeah. That had like this hot. You did that. We had English woman, but I still had like a second house. It's like, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, there's no station. Yeah, yeah, and like. It's showing high for me last year. Now it's really working. So like, let's see. So we really.
Yes, or like this.
Big love, they're really. Yeah. Oh, no. I've been tired. You're included in it. that. Might need it.
I understand that. Like,
Things. I was thinking they're really big, have a big fight. Okay. No. Yeah, they want to fight now.
Did I
like boxing, but I just have.
Morning, staff, minutes. What's going on?
We are so excited to attend our first Sunday forum. So leading. So apologies.
Let us know if we're doing it wrong.
Yeah. Started. My name is Kent.
My name is Alyssa.
And we have a little fun activity. We'll start off. Just attended high school together. We've been friends for a long time. And since we met here, literally for, what is it, 30, no, 20, 26 years? 26 years, yeah. Sure. And we met on in a field day on a ski pitch, cross country skiing. And so we actually, our first interaction was not a musical. It was of the Nordic tradition. And
We want to tell them why they're in the same race.
sure, go ahead.
So Kent missed the boys' race.
So take a look at this. This was from the 2000 Hopkins yearbook that I found online, which I didn't know existed online. And in this is both Alyssa and I. They're somewhere on this page. Take maybe, how long do we have? About 50 minutes. You can find us. And turn to your neighbor and like kind of. And this, usually in this context, it's okay to kind of point a little bit and say like, okay, is that Kent or is that Alyssa? So take a moment.
I see him right there.
Is it the far left photo or the one down below?
It's just on the page.
Oh,
So I have no idea what.
yeah, well, we'll
See him, it's right, did you see him? It's good. Just point at the whole, point at the whole thing. I
Yeah,
can't
but
see.
standing right there.
We all got shoes, so which one is in the section?
Is the one with the big tuba?
We have in front of trombone.
Tuba.
So one also kind of tricky thing about this is Alyssa has a twin. And so.
But you will see in 2 slides what we can help.
But still from like a pixelated far away phone now, they're, still young. Okay, so in your mind's eye, you think you figured out where we are.
There they are.
This is the short section.
I was
And I
right.
was behind the face headband. And then this was us at the 2000 Pops concert at Hopkins High School. Singing. Yeah, maybe not. But yeah, exactly. I mean, it was like there, yeah, exactly. So, Yeah. you know
Yeah.
what? Exactly.
Boston, then to London, and then back here, in around 2011. The far top left picture is me, my partner Elizabeth, and our two kids, Remy and Sayla. They're 4, and Sayla just turned 2 weeks ago. The top right-hand picture is my immediate family, my dad and my 3 sisters and I. We are 2 sets of twins. And the twins are me and the one of the sunglasses, and then the middle 2. So we don't.
We all saw that from the.
Yeah, which I'm sure you recognize us from the grainy picture from a year or 2 now. And then the lower picture is at Remy and Sayla's baptism last year, and this is not everyone, but basically my whole family. So my in-laws and my family and some chosen families. So
Even Kent maybe, huh?
even that, well, he is one of the godparents. Music and classical voice from Ithaca College in Ithaca, New York. Later went on to study contemporary vocal performance at Berklee College of Music in Boston. As a vocalist, I've taken up residencies in cities such as London, New York, and Boston. Having the opportunity to perform in various venues such as the House of Blues, Westminster Cathedral, Carnegie Hall, St. Peter's Basilica, Orchestra Hall, and have the opportunity to perform organizations such as NPR, American Composers Forum, Private Financial, Ravinia Festival, the Extravaganza, Mile, the ELCA Youth Gathering, among others. Yeah. I don't usually like to talk about this stuff, but I also think it, as new folks in this community, that you just get a little snapshot of where our context is, where we're moving. Let's see. The Lafayette Avenue Presbyterian Church in Brooklyn, New York. Served as music director at Redeemer Lutheran Church in North Minneapolis from 2011 to 2020. And then now serve here. I maintain an active performing and teaching career in the Twin Cities, and I recently moved to Richfield with my partner and 2 children and a dog.
So this is some of my crew. This is me. That's my spouse, Irene. That's my sister, Katie. That's her person, Trevor. That's my sister, Annie. That's her person, Josh. That's my brother, Chad. That's my sister-in-law, Carrie, who came to the Pentecost event with my niece and nephew, George, who's a bit of a blob there, and now he's 1.5. So he's got some more, the cartilage is less kind of flimsy. And that's my mother, and that's my dad. And and so this is the crew. This is us in my mom's from the East Coast, so we were back there for a family thing last year. That's my dog Mimi in a selfie. I had to crop it out, but there's a computer next to it, and it says Google on it, so it looks like it's like her first day of work at Google. It's very. And then this is like a fraction of the California crew. So my spouse's my mother-in-law is one of 13, and everybody lives within like, maybe like a 1.5 2-mile radius. And so when you go to Carson, California, you're just kind of like overtaken, but it's like time just passes differently there. And so I was like, this the entire slideshow could be my in-laws. I don't think I can do that. So I just kind of made it the immediate crew. So there's my sister-in-law Lorraine, there's my sister-in-law Jamie, there's her person Peter, there's Irene, my spouse, there's my niece Sadie, and my niece Peyton, my mother-in-law Lilia, and then Auntie Linda. And so yeah, it's just a really good crew. And like I said, and this was just like who showed up in this photo. Like there were still probably like 50 people who were like hanging out, walking around. But this was, yeah, anyway. So, and then this was me, Alyssa. Sometimes I call Alyssa Lou because it's her nickname. So, and then Elizabeth, we were all at a Prince game for the Twins a couple of years ago. And then this is the state fair. This is my best friends in 2nd grade, Matt Dawes, my really good friend Jason. And then that's me and Irene enjoying some delicious treats. So, yeah, a little bit about my bio. So I'm a performer, I'm a composer, and music educator locally and nationally. And I've composed for Minnesota Public Radio, Minnesota Composers Forum, the Keynote Film Festival, the Extravaganza, the Mile, you'll see a youth gathering. I performed with a lot of members of Sons of Blackness, Prince of New Power Generation, Steel Family Singers, and Performance Company, among others. I was the co-music director with Alyssa from 2011 to 2019. Then at the time I was playing for 2 churches, and Pastor Kelly Chapman. Some of you know Pastor Kelly Chapman. Yeah. So so he's kind of the one who like got us into the Lutheran Church. And so he retired at that time, and so Redeemer's 3 blocks from my house, and so I stayed on as a congregation member and served as the chair of the call committee, but I wasn't the music director at the time. And then I came back as the accompanist later. But then at Salem English, I was the accompanist there, and then the accompanist with Anna over at Christ Ray Jesuit High School. And then, like Alyssa said, we have 2 music programs. We have one called LK Arts Academy, and we're located at 5300 10th Avenue South. We'll talk about it here in a minute. And then we also have another program called Music as Wellness. And and then I'm also, so for those of you that don't know, my spouse is an elected official. She is the chair of the Hennepin County Board, Irene Fernando. And so we're a pretty politically engaged household. And often I kind of get voluntold to do things. As a church, sometimes we get voluntold things like, hey, anyway, so and so but one thing that I was voluntold but was really excited to do too was I'm the chair of Trophic Burnett's campaign for Ward 5. She's running for council. She's fantastic. And then I serve on the board of 10th Wave Chamber Music Ensemble. So my buddy Jason, who was in the last photo, he's a bass player who just got off a 1-year contract with the St. Paul Chamber Orchestra. And he's the executive director of 10th Wave. And they actually will be coming here. They're going to be doing a concert in January. And just members of the group. It's going to be a marimba, a 4 marimba concert. It's pretty cool. But that 10th Wave Chamber Ensemble is made up of incredible professional musicians as well as like a lot of professors of like St. Olaf and around the area. It's a great ensemble. You can check them out online. And then I live in Minneapolis with my spouse Irene and my dog Mimi, who works for Google.
Yeah.
Once upon a time. Sorry. Oh my gosh, I do have a photo that I was going to put up there, but full disclosure. Okay, so From 2007 to 2009, my life has changed forever. As the youth director here at Mercedes Lutheran Church, and actually, we were like trying to piece together this forum this morning, and so I do have pictures of my time here, especially we took a crew to New York. I was shocked that Jamie Bennett was like, can I take my kid and her friend to New York for 10 days? It was me and my sister Katie, who was in the photo. She was a 21-year-old at the time. I was like 26, I think, 27. And and we just piled into a 12-passenger van. And like cell phones were like kind of a thing at that point. And so it was kind of like, yeah, just like watch the news. And like if anything happens, you'll see it. But anyway, so oh, that's right. You know what? I appreciate that we've got an archivist here. And so Joel Abramson organized, organized a fantastic, and David Shea too, organized an evening of music for, was like, right, no, but that was like, what was the purpose of the evening? That wasn't for them, was it? It was for, wasn't it to like raise awareness or something? Yeah, because so there was a good friend of me and Alyssa's, his name was Omar Meeksko, and he is originally from Honduras. He lives in Chicago, and he plays in this band called Cien Años, and most of the members are from Honduras, and they come up, and they played for the Augsburg Peace Nobel Peace Prize Forum, because they do a lot of activism as well. And so, and David had mentioned that there was something here around like border advocacy or something around, I mean, not like advocating for more borders, advocating for like more, advocating for justice for folks. And so I knew that this group was coming to town, and so I was like, hey, would you all be interested in hosting a concert here? And so then they came and they did a concert. It was really amazing. And then I came and I played with them a little bit. It was magical. It was really a fun evening. It was really fun. And then Omar was hungry afterwards, and so at 1 a.m, he's like, "We got to go get a burrito right now." That's the other thing I remember from that night. So I was like, I gotta go to bed. It's late. You went to bed, burrito. Anyway, so so that's a little bit about my relationship here at Mercedes, which is it's like a second home. So continuing on, Alyssa and I co-lead on a lot of different things.
We do. We mentioned this before, but we lead co-lead on LK Arts Academy, which is just a music academy in South Minneapolis. And it serves kind of actually lots of different folks, not just South Minneapolis folks. But it's accessible and affordable. And we won't turn anyone away who wants lessons. And we offer lessons in various instruments, piano, group classes, individual lessons, voice classes, individual lessons. By Daryl, who is here for the living. Spirit is alive. He did the drum circle, so he's one of our teachers too.
We work with about 100 students a week.
Yeah, about 100 students.
And then Music as Wellness is a program we do in schools that integrates social emotional learning and music education. So our classroom will invite us in, and we have these little foldable keyboards. So does anybody remember back in the day when you'd learn the recorder? Yeah. I remember that. So we want to do something similar to that with piano. And with
the backpack piano.
The backpack, exactly. So folds piano. And then also around social emotional regulation, wellness awareness. So we have some exercises that we practice, and we invite young folks to do that. And we work with elementary age students, we work with high school students, and it's a really great program. And
those social emotional skills are really life skills. And so these things that kind of come up when you have nerves or when you're anxious or however you're feeling in that space, with music lessons are so applicable to test taking, to social interactions, to, I mean, it's just really interchangeable. So we really thought that the social emotional piece was really important when it came to music.
So the music is wellness you do in school,
Yeah.
but you don't do like a class or something that people could come and attend.
Not for music as well. Music as wellness is like a curriculum that we go into schools, mainly charter schools. Yeah. But I mean, if you study with either of us, it's always embedded in what
You do.
Yeah.
And do you have a lot of teachers in the LK Arts besides yourself? Or is it just
we have a handful.
So actually Clara, who was here for that baptism, she was a teacher. She was a teacher with us for a while. And so she taught our voice class. And then there's if folks kind of know some of the local music scene, there's a pianist, his name is Adi Yeshaya. And then his son, Ethan Yeshaya, he's a bass player, and he also teaches piano. So he's one of our teachers, and Daryl Boudreau. And actually Arthur Murray, we're trying to get, if some folks know who Arthur Murray is, he's a minister, pastor. He has his master's in trumpet from Rice University. And so, yeah, so it hasn't worked out yet, but eventually we're going to get you some trumpet lessons or some trumpet students. But yeah, you can check out our website, lkartsacademy.com, and it has kind of everything we offer, what we do, and we did a theory camp this summer, which was really fun. Music theory camp. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Henry participated. Yeah, yeah. I mean, and then yes, I mean it's like we're kind of doing everything everywhere all at once.
Why do you call it LK Art?
Yeah.
I'm the K.
We're pretty notoriously bad at coming up with names.
That's so terrible.
Like spot wording.
Terrible. If you want to stop the project with us, just like, what are you going to call it? Like, we're done. Can't do it anymore. So, and then like also coming up with a logo. It's just.
We know our skill sets. And we need to outsource the other.
Right. This is why the font's like Arial. We're not like, my spouse has a degree in marketing, and she'll like look at something. Like I just made a T-shirt for my for something, and she's like, "Why did you use impact?" It's like font. I was like, "Don't judge me, okay?" And she just like found it on the internet and started showing me. She's like, "This is literally what you did." And I was like, "Okay, thank you." So we know our skill set.
Vince and I also co-lead the Synod Youth Choir. The Minneapolis Area Synod, we launched, in partnership with them, we launched the Minneapolis Area Synod Youth Choir last year. It was the first year. It will be continuing this year to spring programming, and youth from all over the Synod get to sing at the Synod Assembly, which, were any of you there for the Synod Assembly? Was it kind of nice to have like I know, because it's so much business that day, and well, people, and just a lot of agenda to get through. And then these kids they were so, don't you feel like they were so excited, and they loved every second of it. All the parents were like, I don't know, my kids never performed before, I'm not sure how it's gonna go. And then I said, well, if being successful is singing, then you just come up with them, right? And you know what? They thrived, and they totally they went for it. It was so awesome, right? Yeah. And so we are happy to say that we will be doing that again this year. And it reaches out to the far reaches of the Minneapolis area. I can't remember how many churches, 119.
Yeah.
It's a huge amount of churches, and it goes way out. And so we had folks driving 45 minutes to rehearsals.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's crazy.
So, and we try to make those accessible as we can with translators and songs in multiple languages that reflect who is involved. And then our rehearsal spots, last year, we had 3 different rehearsal spots. And so everyone could, essentially find a spot that was close to home. And this year, I think we're going to do kind of every month we'll do a different location. So we hit kind of every part of it all.
Yeah, it's a great, and yeah, the we have about 60 students that participate. And from across the Minneapolis area, and a lot of students last summer, or last spring from our Saviors participated too, from the Southside Church cohort. That's what we're hoping. That's what we're hoping. Yeah, let everybody know. And then we also were co-leads at Redeemer Lutheran Church. You know, do folks kind of know Redeemer Lutheran Church on the north side? Yeah, yep. So, you know, it's been a historically pretty unique place. It's like a multiracial, multicultural, multi-economic congregation. So like, you know, really in today's world, you know, in a workplace, you might work cross-culturally. In a workplace, you might work cross, you know, racially, you might work interracially, or like live interracially, but like there's really no spaces for cross-economic, you know, kind of experiences. And like at Redeemer, there would be like, you know, a Black pediatrician sitting next to somebody experiencing homelessness, like a white person experiencing homelessness. And so it was like, you know, there was just like the expression of God's beloved community there was just something that was really, I mean, it was just part of the ethos of the congregation and part of who its identity was. And so that's kind of how we came to know Lutheranism. Like we didn't go to a Lutheran school, we didn't go to Luther or St. Olaf or Augustana or I know it's over here. Augsburg. Sorry, I can't forget Augsburg. We know Babette Chapman very well. She also came out of Babette Chapman's, Pastor Kelly Chapman's sister. And so, yeah, and so like we, you know, like that was sort of how we like, you know, like really lived into our Lutheran understanding, Lutheran theology, and Lutheran sense of worship. And so, yeah, and like, you know, as we have continued to live in our leadership here, like our time there has impacted that. And then we also, I'm sorry?
Did you operate like a bike
It did.
for the youth
Yeah.
out of Redeemer?
Yep. So after I left here as youth director, I went to Redeemer and was youth director for about 2.5 years. And we started the first ever bike shop on the north side called Venture North. So we started fixing bikes in the basement of this church, and then ended up getting a $265,000 grant from the city of Minneapolis to build out this building. And yeah, I mean, you know, it was amazing. It was hard. Anytime you kind of go through that kind of growth, there was a lot of transitions that happens within an organization, and so it kind of changed the shape of the nonprofit a little bit. But it was an amazing thing. Yeah.
And it provided leadership and job opportunities
100%.
and learned skills for youth in the neighborhood. A lot of Redeemer was walkable community, you know, would show up, and kids just on their own would show up there. You know, they would, I'm here for church, you know. And so finding ways, one thing that we really tried to do is just find ways to serve the community that was there, and that looked different every year because it was a changing community. And so it was really identifying, and something that Kent and I feel like we do a lot is identifying what are the skills and gifts and interests and what makes people sparkle, what brightens them up, what invites them in, and saying, great, we're going to do that. And then there was a place for that. And so the bike shop was one of those where there was this, you know, kind of cohort of folks who were so into the process. We did the same thing with a CD release there. We worked an entire programmatic year on a CD and writing beats, raps, songs, learning production, going to recording studios, working on marketing. Some kids music wasn't their thing, so they did all of the art and t-shirts and sourcing, and they went to the venues to check where we want to do a CD release. They got word out to the community. They came up with dances, videos, things like that. And so it really pulled in, I mean, that year we probably had, I don't know, 50 to 70 youth participating in this year-long project. So it was just a unique place because it looks so different. There's turnover, there's different family dynamics and realities. And so I think one of Kent and my skill sets is who's in the room and who wants to be, right? What they want to
And what's been really cool too is to see who comes out of that. So like at, now at Messiah, a couple folks are on staff there who came out of Redeemer. In fact, one of them actually got connected to the bike shop. Like if you meet Kendrick Hall, I knew Kendrick when he was like 16, and he was like, he got a football scholarship, or he played football in college, and then he came back and he was biking by my house. And, he was like, hey, what's up with the bike shop? And I was like, hey man, like go, like let's call Pastor Kelly, let's see what we can do. And then, led to him going to seminary, led to him getting ordained. Like, and now he's a Lutheran pastor. And so, yes, I mean, it's wild. And Christine Belfry is, her path to becoming a pastor is similar. I mean, she wasn't on a bike, but, she found a place of home and identity at Redeemer, and then saw, oh my gosh, like Lutheran theology is something I really identify with. And then it led to her going into seminary and then becoming a seminarian. Joe Davis is also comes out of that too.
And also Dave Shearer and Kat Parent, who's doing art here.
Yeah, and in 2012 we had it was so annoying because we had this really talented, and charming intern who just graduated, or just finished seminary, and you're really smart. And every time the preachers were dang, and she was pregnant, and I ended up leaving because she gave birth to her baby daughter, me. Whatever Martha is. That's how we knew Martha and Sam. And so they did their internship at Redeemer's, Redeemer's fingertips are kind of everywhere. And then this last summer, or 2 summers ago, we led at the MILE, the Multicultural Youth Leadership. And just for the context too, so we were kind of brought on last minute. The Multicultural Youth Leadership event is designed for students of color, and just create space for any student who wants to feel seen within the LCA. And somebody dropped out, and so they were like, hey, Kent and Alyssa, can you all have to do this? And we're like, yeah, just a heads up though, right, we're 2 white people. And so, we're both cisgender. And so they were like, yeah. And we were like, if we do this, we're going to commit to building a really big team. And so within 2 months, we raised $20,000 and went from a team of 5 to a team of 10. And we created a young musician initiative that brought in folks who who hadn't necessarily, who did music and loved music, but had never really been in leadership before. And so, these were folks who just graduated from college, and they were all students, young folks of color. And so, it was just a really great and powerful leadership opportunity that we did together. And that was last summer in New Orleans, and then we did the ELCA Youth Extravaganza this past January. And what's cool too is so Amanda and Trey, who were here, so we've known Amanda since she was 8 years old, and then Trey since he was 15, and so again, building and leadership, it takes time, it takes commitment. Sometimes it's kind of messy, sometimes it takes it's kind of an unconventional way of doing things. But when you see the transformation and when you see the people grow into being just incredible leaders, and you get addicted to it. Oh, this is amazing. And so you want to see it happen. And so, when they're here, it's kind of because we've been investing in that, and watched them grow for 15 years.
And the neat thing about it is, now they go on all of these singing events with us, right, and leadership opportunities. But also, when we stepped away from Redeemer and came here, they are now the music directors there. Oh. Trey's music director there. So, which was an obvious choice and obviously our recommendation, but the investment that you put in youth from, when you're 15 or 8 years old, depending on whether we're talking about Trey or Amanda, and then to have them show up as, amazing leaders in the community, it's special.
And they help to define what's Lutheran too, which is cool, because it's part of what, sometimes we get in our heads about oh, this is what Lutheranism is, this is what Lutheranism. It's what's happening on a Sunday morning at Redeemer is booth room to a T. And so it's like, it really helps to create, like the fullness of the church, which is cool. All right, I can't remember the next slide.
Worship through music, and we talked kind of lengthy just now about Redeemer, but it truly did shape how we approach music in church and what that looks like and what it doesn't, or not even that doesn't, but just like the openness of that it's not all ELW, and it's kind of anything that creates a worshipful space, right? And music is one of the most powerful ways that we enter into a worshipful space. For many of us, certain songs instantly draw us closer to God, whether because of the lyrics, the melody, or simply the repetition that gives us the space to breathe, reflect, and pray. When we choose music for worship, we try to create a balance. So a variety of styles, hymns from the hymnal, because we know folks love that. I do too. Songs learned by rote, call and response pieces, simple choruses, songs with repetition. Ultimately, we want to feel like worship is accessible. So can someone be involved in everything that we do here, whether they grew up in the tradition? We make space for songs that invite everyone to participate, regardless of training or background or learning styles or context. And then another goal is participation. Worship is not a performance, but this act of the whole community. So we aim to include music that draws people in, that leaves. And then I'm not going to get this right, but my father-in-law was giving a talk years ago and used this imagery, and I always think about it because it's so applicable to everything. But turning walls into tables, and I love that imagery. And so when we think of worship, I'm constantly thinking of that. How are we taking walls and turning them into tables? We want our music to do the same, break down barriers, to open doors, to welcome in neighbors, new ideas, and diverse musical traditions, right? In practice, this means that we want to ask ourselves, does this hymn or song make room for someone new? Does it allow all learning styles to join in? Maybe someone has never even seen a hymnal that didn't exist in their church. First time they're entering the church, right? And does it reflect the many ways God's people express faith across cultures and traditions? At its best, our music invites people not just to listen, but to belong. And so that's our goal with choosing music, is this belonging. Is there something for you when you enter, you say, that's mine. I don't know about all these other songs, but that one was for me, and that's important. Because it says you're invited or you're not, right? And we want the invitation, and we want that openness.
And that you're validated and your experience is valid. Your experience and who you are is it's great. And you are part of our fabric here. You are part of shaping what is happening. And music, there's a lot of ways that can happen. Music is really unique in that way. Like, somebody feels seen when they hear a song that they know or that they've connected to or that they connect to in the moment. And so we want to help people feel that. And we also, so from a teaching standpoint too, like sometimes we use sheet music, sometimes we do things orally. Sometimes, we just try to be expansive about how we teach things because there's lots of learning styles. And like some of our favorite musicians didn't reading music. Daryl, I did a gig with him a couple weeks ago, and the guy gave me a chart, and Daryl's like, "What am I going to do with this?" And Daryl plays with Sounds of Blackness. He grew up playing with Prince. He's like, for musical resume, these are some of the most outstanding musicians Minneapolis has to offer the world. And and what would be considered like traditional ways of learning music, which is yeah, I mean, like they just like, they were like, no, we grew up playing music, we grew up listening to music, we grew up, you know, and that was like, that's how they learn, that's how folks experience it. It's like, we want to create space to, one, learn ourselves in that context, right? Like Alyssa and I both have really tried to focus in on how you learn by rote. You know, like somebody giving me a recording and saying, hey, we're playing, you know, tracks 1 through 6, you know, next week, so come ready. Like for some folks, that's just like how they learn. For other folks, they're like, wait a minute, you know, like the amount of like stress that they feel in that moment is, I imagine the same way Daryl feels when like, you know, you hand him, you know, a chart. He's like, no, like give me the recording, I'll figure it out. And so, yeah, so making space for everybody, because, you know, we want people to feel seen and celebrated and make great music. That's the thing. It's like great music's made. Should we make a little music? Let's do it. Big jokes, prayer requests. Yeah, love it. Wait, say that again.
Now and not yet. In other words, there's the way like to see.
All right, I think that's a really great perspective, and I think that that's something that the church is really looking into in general beyond music. And yeah, I mean, I think celebrating what is, was, and what will be, and how can they all kind of coexist and live together and celebrate each other.
And also thinking through why are we here?
Right.
Is it the rules, the order of this, or is it the worshipful experience? Is it centering and grounding ourselves in God's presence? Is it the loving our neighbors? I mean, these kind of tenets of just being in a faith, right? And so, what's the word? We're using this week. I can never pronounce. It takes me a second to pronounce it.
Adiaphora?
Yeah, adiaphora. I'm just like, I hear it differently in my head, so I'm gonna say it. That what doesn't matter, right? And so, and I kind of live into that, and especially with music and expression and coming, you know, our context is in an extremely multicultural experience, and so there are so many traditions pulled in, and it's under the umbrella of we're in a Lutheran church, right? It's a Lutheran worship, but we're going to celebrate all the folks that are here and what brings them into a worshipful space. And so releasing the idea that it is one way or that we're always following this, or, you know, even, and our Saviors is great about this, but even, you know, when things happen in the world, there are some places that just neglect it because it's not in the calendar, right? And so that agility in being able to shift in what we're talking about and what we're experiencing in our neighborhoods and in this country, and I mean all the things, right? And the realities of that idea can also be pulled into what music do we use in worship as well, and what can that look like? It doesn't have to look like one thing. There's probably not really a wrong answer for it, right?
My experience and kind of a largest memory of Redeemer was an introduction to the huge porousness, the possibility for porousness in worship, for an openness to keep taking in, because you have no choice. And ultimately, we should have, you know, if we have signs out there that say all are welcome, well, how do we embody that in a worship space that says, come on in, there's something here for you? And that what I learned at Redeemer was that people hold the tension. Yeah. And there's tension, you can deny it, you can put it in your back or wherever you shift it, or there's always gonna be tension and an intentionality around that to say like, oh, I'll be a tension holder. I'll be a guitar here. I'll be something that holds energy and is, someone can come to me and hear notes, hear themselves reflected. And I think our leadership here does such a wonderful job of saying, and right now I'm thinking of you two especially, and of holding that tension of people have traditions and people are looking for something totally new. Hopefully we're inviting people. Hopefully we get to a place where we don't just poach, Lutherans from other churches, but like someone would be called into our church to say, no, I'm really just interested in what's lively about this place. What is there? And that's something that I think we can all grow up when we feel that tension of this is what we do here. Well, that's not something we should ever say because we're literally doing it. So it's kind of tacitly false, or is it? No, it's just patently false. But like, how do we, when we feel that tension, how do we try to make that playable? Turn that into a tune.
All right. Thanks for the perspective, Sam. That's really, yeah, and I think too that like living into who's present and is part of Lutheran theology, and how do we experience Christ connect with beloved community together with the folks, in the context, and kind of like, so I've been talking about the one thing young folks say is this is the villain era. Do people know about this? Have people heard this before? Anybody who has young people in your sphere, if somebody says they're in their villain era, it means that they're like kind of like unapologetically doing that. So it's like, I'm in my villain era. I'm gonna, I'm gonna eat ice cream because like that's what I want to do and whatever. And so I'm about to enter my 40-second turn around the sun, and I'm going to be in my villain soup era. Okay, so it means like I'm really excited to like make more soups and like kind of learn about soups. And I feel like church is kind of there's that element of soup to it. You know what I mean? Like we do this thing called kitchen inbox at our house, which is you look in the fridge and you're like, what do we got? All right, let's take some of this. We're gonna add some broth and see what we can make, what kind of soup we can make. And I feel like worship can kind of live into some of that. You take the like we have the sum of our parts, and so who's present? How are we inviting more folks to become present and to live into the space and let's make something beautiful together. And so yeah, I think did I see a question back here too?
Kind of got it. You got a lot going on. Why OSLC? Why'd you add this to your to-do list?
Yeah. So first and foremost, Martha called us, and we love Martha and Sam. And so, I was here before, and so it's like, hey, like our saviors, they know what's up. And so it was like, it was kind of convincing Alyssa, like, hey, this place is gonna be great, and so far it's been great. And so, don't make me look like a fool.
Yeah, in our previous job, it's gone through a lot of transitions, and we thought, I think it's great for new, I think it's great for new leadership in different places that keeps things fresh. We've been there for 15 years. Ken's spouse Irene started this nonprofit in her freshman year dorm. And she wrote into her job description that she'll only be in it for 9 years. So at the height of it, built it into a multi-million-dollar nonprofit. Okay, she exited because of that freshness. And so, and then our saviors, we had heard and knew Martha and Sam, and knew about all the amazing things that this community is doing. And so it felt really natural to shift over here. We'll have to save our songs for another time. But we hope that you got to know a little bit more of what we do. We don't like to talk about ourselves. Making a joke. Yeah. talk about all the things we do in our list and our resume, but we thought that it would be important just because some of you just don't know us at all. So we wanted to give you a snapshot of who we are, what we're about, and why we do the things we do here at our Saviors. And also that this will shift and grow and change as we live into being the music directors here. So, yeah.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, we just find some.
Sure.
Yeah. And again,
Oh, you guys have this.
okay. Our little snapshot, we were gonna show you some ways that how we reimagine things, or maybe changing chord structure below hymns makes it feel different, and then learn different learning styles. That's a little snapshot for everybody to do it.
There's the thing like.
Well, I was in Miami last week for like a wellness center. And my favorite like or beach yoga and wellness.
Soccer started.